Fantastic.
Okay, it works. We can put that up.
Look at that. Hi, guys, and welcome to our SohoMuse live entertainment series. It has just been such a gift alongside with our Muse Tech partners during these very sad and trying times to be able to support our SohoMuse members and giving them an opportunity to showcase their extraordinary talents with new fans, old fans, kind of raw and personal. And tonight we have the extraordinary Shane Anderson, photographer. We have so much to talk to him about. So without further ado, let me introduce you and welcome to our SohoMuse series.
Hello, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course.
Okay, firstly, and sorry to talk about the superficial things, but love your hair. We got to talk about the hair.
Thank you.
Because it's pretty fabulous.
I don't know if it's as voluminous as yours, but I'm pretty happy about it.
It looks amazing.
Thank you.
Where are you talking to us from?
I'm talking to you from New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's especially intense here. So I'm hoping to anyone that comes by tonight just a little bit more lightheartedness in their days, because I know personally it's easy to get sucked down in social media and all the energy is going around, especially in New York, where it's kind of the epicenter of a lot of things.
Yeah, it has definitely been a trying time. No
yes.
question. So have you been in New York this entire time, or where were you?
I have. You know, I considered going off to Barbados. For the past, I don't know, 2 years, I've led a pretty nomadic lifestyle. So I haven't actually had a lease agreement or any of these things to keep me anywhere. And when everything with the COVID started going down, I considered just like getting a plane ticket, because to get there, it's only like $250 or something. And the visa for tourism is 6 months. So I considered just hopping on there instead of staying in New York, but I decided to stay here just because of the uncertainty, which now I'm a little bit regretful about it, but I'm still having a good life, so I'm happy about that.
Amazing. So let's back up and let's really talk about, so you lived in London. I don't know if everyone who's here with us tonight knows that you are a double bassist, which to me is honestly one of the coolest instruments on the planet. I love. So where did you study and why that instrument? Was someone in your family? Were you a musical family?
Well, I mean, I would say artistic family more than everything. My grandfather actually, I don't think he was, I never met him, he passed away before I was born, but he was always into music. I always was told stories of him just like conducting up in laying on the ground, up in the air conducting, because he loved the symphony. But he was also, I think, a recreational photographer. And my camera strap is actually his old one from his kits. That makes me very happy to use every time. But I'd say we're an artistic family. But in terms of the actual instrument, I actually just picked it up one day in school. We had like a try the instruments day in music class, and it was a really tiny one as a little, I think, 5th grader or something like this. And I started playing then, and I continued up through university, because that's what I studied. But since then, traveling does not allow itself the leisure of carrying that around, unfortunately. But whenever I find one in the city, I'm always trying to ask the person, can I play on that for just 5 minutes? I promise I'm not just random, you know?
Well, no, but it teaches you everything about rhythm.
No, they don't.
Foundation of blues and drums. It's an exceptional instrument. I love it. And then I read that you're also a mathematician. So how is that in like left and right side of your brain? How is that operating? How have you managed to do that?
Well, they get in lots of fights with each other. That's
good.
But when they work together, it's very nice. It kind of supports the logic of the art. I mean, if you look through history, Da Vinci, for example, was a man of many traits. And I think discredited for that, because a lot of artists, they're kind of pinholed into one medium or something like this, and then they don't get recognized. But if you look through his journals and all of these sort of things, it's really inspiring to see how he used the two, like, for example, knowledge of lighting and also facial anatomy helped paint the Mona Lisa's face into that that weird smiling yet sad, it's because the lighting brings the smile up, but the smile is actually face down, and that's because he knew anatomy, he was dissecting things. So I think it's really fun to merge the two in together.
You know, it's, and I completely relate to that because I've been a singer-songwriter my whole life, and then learning about technology. And, you know, kind of my philosophy is how to make tech sexy. All the artists that don't really want or don't enjoy learning about tech, right? It's taken a long time, but it's just behavior and the crossover. And so I often am like grappling with both sides of my brain. So I really do, I get that. And
well, I think it helps you appreciate and create better, especially if it's in with one field, like especially with music. If you can tech and write, you can kind of play with the elements in process, and you can kind of make that into a better final product, I think.
I agree. And we have Kathy Temperley. Hello from Nebraska. Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. And anyone who's joined, please ask questions, and you can do that in the chat or the Q&A. We are up close and personal here. We are supporting Shane, so we're going to find out all the nitty-gritty, what's going on in that brain of his. And that amazing.
Hi, Kathy. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you? She's a family member back from Nebraska, where I went to school.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining. And we've got Montgomery Fraser in Sutton Place in the house.
Hello, Montgomery. Sutton Place.
Tell us about your magazine work. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think editorial is the most fun because you can, for the most part, use your own opinion and not listen to so many other opinions, which is, for me, the great part about it. Commercial work is great too, of course, but I really do prefer editorial because it's where you get to create. I just had a few great stories come out, very, I think, different than a lot of what the fashion world is in right now. And I don't know, I think, like I said, I think of myself as an artist. I think there's trends and you have to hit them, of course, to get, work. But before everything, I try to make my art, especially in magazine work. And we tried the screen share. I'm gonna see if it works right now.
Yes, let's do it.
I'll show you a few of those.
Please, we'd love to see.
Tell me when it's up.
Okay. And we are loading real time. It's happening. Yep, we are loading.
So I had a wonderful team on this one. The hair is amazing. The makeup is amazing. The clothing is. And again, this is kind of offbeat, I think, of what the industry's at for a large part right now. So it's really exciting to just, create that sort of thing. This was a more recent one. This one, everyone has seemed to love. Amazing makeup. This one is, I like to intertwine lots of little facts into my artwork. For example,
this so dramatic, and then just like the half lip like that, and then goes over to that, so beautiful. Yeah, it's like raw and innocent, but with this very kind of dark capturing with the red. It's very vibrant and beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this one especially was based off Bloody Mary and that story. So this is my great makeup artist friend Naomi. She made this makeup look and conceptualized the whole thing. I was so honored to shoot. I think Montgomery asked, though, what exactly is the fashion world into? When I say that, I think I mean more like the style. And everything for me, it's like creating another world, taking something that could be real and tweaking it to make it a little bit more abstract, right? So when I say where the fashion world is at, I just mean in terms of coloring and style. I always try to stick to my own space with that, as opposed to always doing the trendy thing. That's how I would say that. I like to play a lot with angles too. Like this example, they look confused when they first see this image, and then they see the shadow behind it, and they gasp, and that gasp never gets old when I see them. But
it's beautiful because the story too behind it, right? The strength and the pose, and it is that shadow is so interesting, right? It's aggressive, but not in another way. Like so. Can you define kind of what you were trying to capture there? What's important in that message for you?
Well, here I think a lot of my work. I think there's a great quote from one of Oscar Wilde's books, Dorian Gray. It talks about finding an abstract sense of beauty, and how art for a lot of people is a sense of autobiography. So for me, when I'm creating something, I don't necessarily go into it thinking there's a definite message or story to be told there. I kind of have the characters in the world, and then I let them create their own story, if that makes sense. So
love that.
I don't like, I think any artwork you create automatically has yourself tied into it, because as a creator, you put your emotion into that. So I kind of let my inner self do that work, and then kind of let the characters I'm creating in my artwork tell their own story.
Amazing legs. Sorry, I had to say. You switched off.
I did. I don't want to bore. Maybe we can go back into some more photos later, but I want people to forget what I look like.
I love this, and I love that we worked that out, and that's so great. Okay, so
he loves the quasi-chaotic vibe of the lips. Thank you. I love it too. Kathy, where would you like to travel and explore the lighting? I've been a lot throughout Europe, but I think I would love to go somewhere in Asia. From the photos I've seen, it's a really crisp, kind of refreshing light, so I'd love to experience that.
So who ideally, when looking at fashion and inspired by designers and your storytelling aspect, what designers would you love to work with, and who's really on the cutting edge of people that you would love and are inspired by right now?
Well, I think a lot of that stems from my travels. I mean, a lot of my experiences, feed into my artwork. Sometimes I just remember one detail of a certain night or experience, and that can create, like I said, kind of a whole world. So I think that ties into fashion labels and brands too. I love things that are a little bit dark but still beautiful. So Alexander McQueen, I love Yves Saint Laurent. But I also kind of love this modern kind of retro thing, and I also love kind of whimsy. So I love Gucci and Fendi and Missoni. Kind of these more traditional but still modern styles. So those are kind of the brands I would state my aesthetic with.
Yeah, it's the classical. So that you being obviously a musician, to the darker edge, and I think that's beautiful. That is your kind of your light and your dark side.
No, I agree.
Contrast. Brad Taylor's asking, with the pandemic going on, how are you creating? Are you feeling inspired at this? Not as a cliche, but actually, is this, a lot of artists that we've talked to, for some, it's been really hard for them because it's so raw what's going on, and they feel so isolated that it's actually very hard for them to create. Whereas others are so it's so rich for them right now. So what's it like for you?
Well, in my career and life, really, I've really learned to take really a matter of nothing and turn it into something. I think that's the basic philosophy I kind of live by, both in my artwork and in life, because it's easy to create when you have lots of tools, but you really learn how to create well when you don't have lots of tools. And then once you get the tools, then you have that freedom and ability to intermingle those and play with them, as opposed to getting kind of trigger happy with it and just throwing too many things in. So in terms of how I'm creating during this situation, I mean, it kind of changes. Obviously, I can't go on set and work. But as I said before, I'm an artist in many facets. So it's really integrating and creating, more of the backside of my business as well, because that does entice me too. Again, I have that logic side of my brain turned on. And kind of in creating and inventing artistic ways to run that. And I think it can be really easy to get locked into a really logic-based system. Like I said, the left and right part of my brain fight a lot, but it's a lot of internal work, I think, because there'll be plenty of time when everything's, a bit more normal, I can go and create. So I'm really taking advantage of this time for what it is.
Can you tell us about Savvy and about the program and what that is?
Yeah, so Savvy, it's a great production house. I met them when I first came here in New York, and the producer side, I'll give a quick debrief of that in like a few sentences, because producer is such a big term. Like, right, you could say you're a music producer, and that's completely different than what I do. So for me, it's basically logistically managing all the side of a shoot. So making sure everyone's communicating and making sure the actual shoot happens. And then the photography side of me allows me to actually create. So having that producer role and being able to explore that side of myself too makes me a lot more in tune with everyone when I am photographing. So it's great to have those, and I work with some great people and projects on that.
Love that. Montgomery Fraser, do your stories evolve in the execution, or do you stay true towards your initial concept? Ooh, good question. Like that.
They always evolve. I'll make a mood board of what I'm trying to create, and then I'll just read the whole situation different, because like I was kind of touching on, when I create something, I kind of let the characters do the talking, and I'm very much in the moment. When I'm shooting a piece, I don't think this has to be here, this has to be here, this has to be here. My mind kind of goes blank almost, and I'm just kind of in the zone. And sometimes I'll discover different things while working and decide that needs to go in. And it's beautiful now with post-production. There's so many possibilities and how I can further create. I used to do a lot of painting back in the day. So for me, when I'm going through and editing photos, it's really like a whole new way to paint and add. Sometimes I'll just take maybe 2 or 3 different photos. I thought we're going to go one direction and merge them into kind of a composite to give a more surreal look. But yeah, it always evolves. It never stays exactly what you want.
Right, you never thought it's true. It always morphs into something else, right?
Yeah, and I think you have to be true to that, because as an artist, you need to express yourself. And if you're only expressing your very rigid plan, it's not good. But that's great for commercial work. It's good to be able to follow plans as well. When you need to work for a client, it needs to be a certain way. That's great as well.
In your travels, so tell me about one of the most inspiring places, especially since you lived in London. One of my favorite.
London, yes. If you look through my work, it's a bit weird. It's a bit muted, but there's still kind of pops of color throughout. I definitely attributed the muted style from London. I was there probably the longest, and that when I moved there, it was a very early part of my career. So obviously, very influential on how I create and see the world and those influences. But when I was there, I was living with these 2 Italians. So I definitely didn't get like the British London experience by any means.
Female relationship, or
no,
friend, roommates?
What do you mean? Like
you're saying Italian, you didn't really have the English experience, so it was 2 male Italians. Was this roommates, or this is people you're in a relationship with?
Oh no, they were roommates. Yeah, but it was great to live with them, because especially, like I said, it was at a very crucial part of my career. So it was great to experience life from that perspective, because you have to think they grew up in Italy. The streets there are beautiful. The art there is beautiful. The culture there is beautiful. The food, there's lots of restrictions on where it comes from there. So all this kind of cultivates a certain lifestyle and worldview that I don't think me as an American, would be able to understand or express without that. So those motifs definitely follow through into my work for sure. But I do have a deep love for Italy. They made me go, which was not a bad forceful move at all.
I've never heard anyone being forced to go. They wanted.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but beautiful experiences there, and I do base a lot of my work on those experiences.
And did you fall in love in Italy? Not to ask you any deep and emotional questions, but just.
I probably fell in love in London, and then was in. But I fell in love with the person in London, and then I fell in love with the culture and people, not romantically, in Italy, because it's such a beautiful, kind of enriching space, and everyone there. It's New York and America. It's very, business. There's a lot of more fake people I found, but in Italy, everyone's, just living that kind of artistic life. Design, food, fashion. Enriching life, and it's just a much more different experience to be in. But I did fall in love in Italy with a lot of other things, but not a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do people not who know your work but don't know you? What are some of the secrets and the things that you haven't shared that you could share with us?
Well, I think I've been a bit revealing in terms of how I create. I'm going to show you an example in this photo, okay? So hopefully we can pop this back up. Tell me when it goes live.
And Bonnie has come in and said, I came in late because you're inspiring to many.
Hi,
Thank
Bonnie.
you.
I love you. Thank you for being here. It makes me very happy. Are we back in the photo?
We are loading.
Amazing. Okay, so this is my friend Nicola. We met in London.
Wow.
And we've really kind of chased each other around the world, not on purpose. We're always just in the same country at the same time, quite coincidentally. But it's really good to have a friend like this, because most people you know from kind of one city or one place, but I've known her from so many different times in my life and kind of all over the world too. But when you asked for something revealing, I kind of hinted on it in that I let the characters speak for themselves. And I remember when I posted this photo for the first time, I got a huge comment from someone about how they loved how the blue glass was symbolic of seeing things as half full and not half empty, and et cetera, et cetera. And I found that really beautiful because this blue glass is actually just paint water. I was painting in orange blue, and I cleaned the brush in this water, and that was all. And then I saw this glass sitting on the table. I said, wow, that's really pretty. I want to use it. And the photos, and it matched the wall, and the top of the wall is white and the bottom is blue. I said, it's perfect. But it's beautiful for me that someone created this whole narrative out of it for me. And that's an ultimate success for me, because I didn't mean to put that motif in there for that reason. I just kind of did it because it was beautiful. And if people can find meaning out of something I just thought was beautiful and they can relate to that, that makes me very happy. So I guess that's kind of a secret.
It is absolutely magical, because honestly, this could be a painting. It's so real, it's so rich, and there's like, the more you keep looking at it, you stare and you see all these different nuances, and it's really magical. Even from the bend of the leg, it's just fascinating. My God! And you're right, the half.
I work with lots of what's in the environment. I see this divide in the wall. I see a similar pattern in the water. And if you zoom in here, there's also kind of a similar pattern on the leg here. And then it's contrasted with this harsh line. And then the bend in the knee kind of breaks up the composition along the way. So I'm really a proponent of being in the moment and seeing what that creates, because you can find so many beautiful things by just kind of looking.
Montgomery's asking, what emotion inspires your work the most?
I would say passion. I don't know if you only consider that an emotion, but passion or nostalgia, not anger. When I make something that's kind of more dark or brooding, that's kind of just how it comes out. I mean, I don't think I'm a very like dark, brooding person, though people on the street tell me they're sometimes afraid to approach me because I give off this kind of moody. I wear a lot of black. That's important to know. But as you may be able to tell from my personality, I'm not exactly what you would peg someone, I guess, is wearing in black, what that connotation is. And I think a lot of people that wear black, don't have this mean attitude about them. I think it looks sleek and cool. But passion definitely, kind of, even if you experience something bad, you can learn from it, and that's beautiful and passionate to me. But nostalgia as well. There's always something, because nostalgia, right? It's never an exact representation of the world you remember. It's always a little bit brighter. So I like having a little bit of magic and whimsy in my images in that way too.
You also feel a lot like you speak with such passion. You really resonate as a mentor to people, and I feel like, kind of diving into an educational side, which I know is something that's very important to you. Can you talk to us more about what really started that for you? And I kind of see you as a light and a mentor.
I mean, in the fashion space, there's not much room for education. I mean, if you look through it, it's really hard. I always get questions of people asking, how do I break into this space? Because you can't really learn it in school, and it's a lot of politics and knowing people, which has its pluses and downsides. But I don't think there's enough vocalization there. I think it's very gated for a lot of people. And even if you're not, photographing covers of Vogue, it's really good to, you know, get into that space and at least start learning and cultivating yourself as an artist, because a lot of educational programs, I suppose, that I've seen it in photography lean more on very technical side of things, and people are very harsh about, oh, you didn't do that correctly. You didn't do that correctly. That's not how you're supposed to do that. But when you're creating it more of an art, you're allowed to break those rules. And of course, if it's supposed to be an e-commerce photo with a white background, it needs to be done, you know, properly. But I think there's not so much a voice in artistically creating in a modern photography sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You know, we opened up our SohoMuse Tier 1 to really up-and-coming artists, speaking at FIT and kind of understanding what kids needed and what was important to them and what they didn't have, and helping them to kind of build tools so that they could have possibilities for internships and mentor opportunities. So I'd love to talk to you about that further, because there's so many people that could really learn from you, and I love that you're doing that. And again, you talk with a lot of authority, because I think you're so passionate and you're so you're raw and you're organic. You're a true artist.
Yeah, I'll continue. I'm going to try to answer Kathy's question too in this, because what is Bonnie said? Maybe we can answer that as well.
Yeah.
Most inspiring. Okay, I'm going to peg down Kathy's question first. I mean, honestly, this ties a great deal, history and architecture, how does it influence my work, into the education piece. There's so much knowledge out there to be had and expressed. And you can even, just looking at artwork, whenever you go to a museum or something, I always get inspired, and I think people should take more time for that, just to see things differently. I always go back to historical artworks and pieces, just to see how people created a long time ago. I mean, I talked a little bit before about Da Vinci, but we're in such a rapid paced society now. It's really easy to try and just create quickly and with what we have readily available, but there's such a wealth of knowledge and technique, and honestly very impressive skill that probably took way longer than anything we're creating today. Because again, everything's so fast, it's hard to create that masterpiece. So I think it's very valuable to go into history and architecture. But architecture specifically, my work in general, it's very composed, very specifically. Someone said once it almost looked like an interior architecture photography book, but with people. And I was really intrigued by that. And then I, looked into it more and started understanding the relationship between, my, again, more logical side of things and how that influences and makes my work a little bit more geometric in this way. And I had a mentor once, her name was Milan. She's from Nebraska also, my first startup. But she said, we were discussing, and she says, I know you're already doing this, but I'm making you aware that you're doing it. So now you can actually do it with intention, because once you're aware you're doing something or taking influence on something, you can really begin to manipulate it in your work, as opposed to just having it offhandedly kind of there. So that's how I would say that.
Love that.
Bonnie asks, what have I found to have my most inspiring work, in what sense of mind? Again, it's the nostalgia thing. I forever I look back a lot. Maybe it's bad, maybe I should stop doing it so much, but in terms of inspiration, for me it's like a perfectly baked pie or something, in the sense that when you're experiencing something, you never really know the value of it until you look back and you're like, oh, that was bad, that was horrible, but that was pretty good. And I think both are valid experiences to pull inspiration from in your artwork. So it just kind of comes to you. You can't force inspiration at all. It's almost a bit unfair, because when you are really inspired, it feels like you're doing no work at all. It feels like you're not worthy, because it's just coming out of you. So I'd say experience informs that the most. So if you can experience more things, you'll have a bigger library of ideas and inspiration to work from.
So agree. Shane, if there's a legacy that would be important for you to leave, and for what people could say, what would you want people to say? What would be important there?
I don't know that I can answer that question quite yet. I'm still, relatively, you can see my face, I'm not the oldest person in the room. But I think that always evolves, and right now I'm focusing a lot on developing that solid basis. And as that grows and as my style develops more, I think that's more of a solid answer I can give. But right now I'm more interested in kind of exploring what that means, because I want to make something that's memorable, not just
Something
so
trivial.
quickly that I need it to happen now. I mean, those things take time to cure.
Yeah,
I think.
it's a great answer. Jamie asks, hi from Nebraska. What goes through your mind while you're setting up a shot, your process?
Well, again, a little more secrets, but when I'm shooting, I wish I could be more detailed, but my mind kind of goes blank a little bit. I know Jamie, we were in school together, actually in a photojournalism course, which is the only photography course I've ever taken. And Jamie, I'm going to tell you what Bruce thinks. That was our professor. He was an amazing photographer. He actually had one arm. And what he did was he created a device that his arm could actually hook into the bottom of the camera, and he would pull over and click with his finger like this. So he was holding it like this. Amazing. But what I learned in that course, and I always defend this, is that being in the moment and learning to see, even when you're working in something artistic or fashion, helps you create that shot. Because once you have, and you know how to react, because in photojournalism, right, you have to react to things. You have to be reactionary. So once you learn to react, and based on that, then once you're in the moment, you begin to notice little details that you might not have noticed. And again, this goes back to always evolving with that. So yeah, being in the moment, trying not to think too much, and then just seeing details when they happen. I recently finished a project where I was just shooting, and I had my friend Ben. We were doing a quick video for the site as well. And while that was occurring, the talent, she just closed her eyes and opened them, and then she pursed her lips like this. And immediately in my mind, I don't know why, I just pictured a flower blooming, and then my mind popped to a documentary from the 60s of a flower blooming with like an old voice going over. And this happened within milliseconds. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I can capture content for that realm. So when I'm setting up a shot, I always have a vague idea in mind, but I always let the moment take over, for sure. I hope that's helpful, Jamie.
Yes, it is.
To clarify, tell me, but that's my answer.
What do you think about social media and any platforms and any areas that's really been helpful for you in your work and connecting with fans and really making a difference?
I personally don't like social media, if I'm being very honest. Like, it's very mentally taxing and time consuming. If I didn't use it for business, I don't know that I would really. I really prefer talking to people, in person. But at the same point, it does give me access to people who enjoy my work, which is amazing. It makes it a lot more easy to share and connect and hopefully influence people for the better with your work. Sorry, I have a bit of a glow here.
You've got a lighting glow that's just come on.
Yeah, the sun comes through my window at around this time, I guess. And wow. It's really pretty. But anyhow, social media, yes. I mean, it's also opened a lot of doors in terms of networking. There's so much information out there, just at the tips, and people willing to connect and talk with you and learn from. Even if maybe it's a mentor sort of relationship, or maybe it's more of a friend, or maybe it's a collaborator. There's a lot of potential there. If you use it well and manage it in a healthy way, I think it's good, but it's easy to get swallowed in, I think.
Do you think you'll start incorporating more of your music into your work and kind of making that your art and directing and kind of making that a lot more encompassing?
I've always been fascinated by music videos. I think that'd be so much fun to direct one of those. But I've been kind of out of the music scene for a while now, so I think it would be very interesting to kind of explore back into. But it's not something I've played with recently, just because I've been on the go so much in terms of traveling and these sort of things. I've really been focused. But I think I definitely could branch into that realm really easily.
Exactly. Montgomery thinks exactly as I do. Do you ever mix mediums in your shoots, i.e. paintings, interiors, set designs?
Yes, I want to do it more. The instances I've done it so far, it's been very like DIY, I suppose, in terms of I've painted apples. Like I said, the one I showed you before, it was an orange I painted. But I also, looking through my work, I painted an apple blue, and I've realized I have a thing for painting fruits, and I don't know where it came from. But it's been kind of DIY in that sense. I've also like purchased picture frames and hung them, and this sort of thing. But I've never really gone in and made an artwork specifically for a photo shoot. I think that would be fascinating, and I would love to explore that. And I've played with it a little bit, but
and to have your
I think that would be a bigger project, and I really want to make it amazing, because if I'm painting something and doing set design and then photographing it, that's a lot of hours, and I want to make sure I have the best team for that.
But a great way to mix all those mediums and then to be able to use prints and things like that. And
absolutely. I think photography is too fast now. I don't like it. People want more for less, and it's not viewed as an art. And I kind of want to, I guess if I'm answering your question about what mark I want to leave, I don't know if this is something to be left anywhere, but I definitely want to at least shift the tide of it being viewed more as an art, especially in the fashion community. It's too fast for me.
And copycat, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the problem with fashion, sadly, right? Is there's so much of that.
Well, it's really hard to create something original, because so much has been done, and again with social media, everything's very accessible to get inspiration from. And the line between was I inspired by this or have I copied it, it's subtle. So that's I was talking earlier about my method behind creating things. And I mean, obviously looking at old artwork, there's things to inspire from, but I try not to post photos that I want to replicate. I try to just delve into the world and let the characters I've created kind of do the talking. And that kind of goes back again to the photojournalism side of things, because I want there to be an element of realism, even if it's abstract, because it is art. But I prefer it to have a little bit of earth to it, you know, so people can relate to it and relate with this person. Who is this in the photo? Who is this? I want it to be that. I don't want it to be pretty girl on beach. I want it to, that's very reductive. I don't mean to be that reductive. That's kind of
wow.
Get the picture in your mind. I'm not bashing this sort of photography at all. I want to say that can be very beautiful, but that's not what I'm trying to express.
I get it. You definitely see, it's all about your passion and you being unique and telling your story. So what projects do you have up and coming that we can hear SohoMuse about?
Well, like I said, right now everything's kind of a little more of a standstill. But I had shot some things within every few months, I guess, before everything started going down. So I have a few of those that should be coming out shortly, which is very exciting. I was really obsessed with like sparkly, shiny things recently. So that's coming out. And then I also have like a more dark, moody beauty shoot that's coming out soon. So that's very exciting. But if you want to talk projects in general, I've been working a lot on, again, we talked a little before about the education sector, you know, right? And I've been trying to think how I can make an impact there in a way like an artist would, you know? So I'm in the process of kind of building out some content for that. And I'm still playing around with what the final deliverable will be, because I think the education sector is vastly, you know, changing due to everything happening. So just kind of building that curriculum to have something good, and then maybe it can move into something else.
So exciting. Montgomery asked, do you ever mix mediums? Oh, we did that. The mind is an unlimited source of newness, and your creative DNA cannot be duplicated.
I agree, Montgomery.
So true. And
okay.
Ronnie, did you see that?
Yeah. What area besides the fashion industry would you most desire to create my talent in? I mean, I work mostly in fashion because for me, clothing is artwork, especially if it's well designed and well made. Not such a proponent of fast fashion. I really don't like shooting with things that aren't interesting. And that's not because I have fancy taste, which I kind of do, but you know, I just want something that looks beautiful. And I don't care if it's Gucci or if it's a fashion student. If you've made art, I would love to, you know, include it in what I'm orchestrating, really. So, I mean, though I don't really view as fashion, I mean, I just want to create artwork, and whatever the medium then that's the medium. And of course I'll use fashion in there because it offers, it's a piece of art itself. So I love to include that, but I would love to do gallery exhibitions and these sort of things as well. I don't think it's limited, but fashion is kind of the natural place I would go to be able to work commercially in an artistic way, if that makes sense.
Eleni Snyder said, how do you keep your art first when you're trying to make a living? Do you have that conflict? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah. I do, Eleni. I mean, it's a struggle sometimes, especially in times like these where everything is so intense, for lack of a better word, really. But there's a few options. First of all, I invest a lot of money back into my career. Like, there's no denying that. I try to live very humbly in the most part and invest it into something I really care about. So I live well but small for the most part. So that helps for sure. But when I'm trying to, I mean, sometimes it's sacrifices, you know? Do you want to make this project and do you want to inject money in it to make it better? Or do you want like 5 fancy dinners in the month? It's just a game of balancing books, which again, the math side of me loves to play with. But I mean, it is a conflict because sometimes you just don't have any money. I lived a lot of time, especially when I was in Italy, I didn't have much at all. So I remember going in, and it's a lot cheaper there to eat in general. But I would remember just getting like a focaccia loaf and some cheese and vegetables, and I would eat that for lunch. And it's like 3-4 euros, and it's fine. Just to keep that. But oh, you like Lini says, ha, thank you. I hope that was helpful. But no, I can be very bohemian, but I can also be very, very posh. I mean, a lot of my work is based on juxtaposition, and that's true for me as a person as well. So, as Jamie asked something, is there any photographer or artist that has influenced you the most or inspired me? In terms of photographer, it's kind of, I think it's a very common name, Steven Meisel. But he really does what I'm kind of addressing in terms of making a situation look real. If you go through his work, a lot of it's based on a real. There's one photo. There's a woman. She's sitting by a pool, and very outrageous styling and hair and all these things. But then this dog is just passing by her, and it's caught in a blur. So it looks like she could be a normal woman just sitting by the pool. But then there's this dog, and it makes it like, oh, this is real, but also she's dressed like this. This is not real. So I love this. And then also Da Vinci as an artist in general. It's great. I mean, the mixing of art and science is great. There's lots of quotes like this. His journals remind me of my babblings. You can see on the wrong hand. On the wall here, there's paper taped up. Yes. Those are my ramblings. I always like to have something I can just explode my mind into if I need to. But
we have another. I'm a photographer and sell at high-end art shows. All the summer shows have been canceled. You're all struggling this summer.
No, I'm so sorry to hear. No, I can't imagine. I mean, for me, I don't sell in art shows or anything. But if that's your main source of income and it's just vanished like that, summer is a great time. Summer is where I feel like a lot of festivals and people are coming out more, and that obviously that's a great time to sell artwork. So I can't claim to know that industry super well, but I can relate to your pain. I've been focusing a lot inwards because it's good to do, but also not as much work at all has kind of come through. So it's been a struggle, and I'm kind of going back to my roots a little bit recently. Just learning to make it bountiful with not much, which I'm fine with doing. It's all about mindset in a lot of ways, but that doesn't discount any unpleasant experiences because those are very real things.
It is. Eleni, we will chat offline and SohoMuse and see how we can actually help you there. We're really trying to champion and support the artists as much as we can. So we'll definitely talk about that offline. Wow, Shane, my goodness, it has just been such an honor to dive into your world and for you being able to share just your gifts with us. Does anyone have any further questions that we can ask Shane? Please let us know. but I just cannot thank you enough for taking the time, and just it flew by. I mean, honestly, I just can't even believe this, but thank you so much. And anything else that you want to leave us with?
Oh, thank you, Eleni. I appreciate that. Anything I want to leave you with? I would say just keep creating, especially if you're down and out. It can be hard, and you can definitely not be in the mood. Next time you see me shoot the yes, I would love to demo the process in motion. That's very fun. Both in onset and in post. I think it's really good to learn, because my process is not very typical. I don't think. Again, it's not industry standard always, which for commercial work, maybe I should get more on the rails. But for my artwork, no, I try to just be as creative as I can in my ideation and post work. Yeah.
You are a beautiful soul, and thank you for sharing your gifts with us tonight. Where can everyone find you? And of course on SohoMuse, but where else can people find you?
All of my socials, you can search. It's at that stylish nerd, which is someone gave me this like little weird nickname in high school. And my name is Jane Anderson. It's actually, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's common enough that all the domains are taken. So I've just made that there, and it's kind of like a little Easter egg I leave for people, so you can follow, as Concierge says, on all the social of that. And that's also my domain, just.com. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
And thank you so much. We've created for you tonight any tips and donations for this wonderful interview. Again, we want to support all of our artists and talent. Thank you again. This is our first of actually our interview series, part of our entertainment series, and truly this has just been an honor to have you with us tonight. So please come back. Please share any upcoming projects. Montgomery's right. That would be great to actually watch you in your process if you would be open to that. And thank you again.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate having the time here tonight.
And Bonnie said, truly a beautiful soul. Thank you, Miss, taking photos with you when you were in Bruce's class. Oh,
thank you, everyone. My heart is warm. I really appreciate those comments.
Gorgeous. Have an amazing night. Please stay safe, and your family stay safe, and to better days.
To better days.
Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Likewise. I'm sure I'll be. Bye.
Bye now.